What's going on? Sam Cologne here, aka The Messenger, and welcome to today's show. I want to start off by saying wherever you are right now, take a nice, slow, deep in breath, and then let it go. Now, let's get started. Today's topic, see how we're going to word this today. All right. Today's topic is going to be working with what you currently have instead of trying to change things. And this goes hand in hand with flow, right? This is flowing. Now, that's one aspect of it. And it's going to tie in with what everybody's talking about nowadays. I say probably like the last 3 years, shadow work. Let's do the shadow work. Let's do the shadow work. Let's do the shadow work. Let's dive deep into the shadows. You look at somebody and they're a little fucked up. It's like, yeah, man, this shadow work. Like, so it's everywhere, right? Shadow work. And then we have this trying to change things. Like, it's almost like swimming up current, right? So working with what you currently have and how this coincides with shadow work. Right? That's today's topic. So just a quick story before we get all into the nitty gritty. I was having a conversation. I know on other videos I've shared, like every night, me and my wife, we get together, take a shower, we talk it out. And sometimes like some real profound conversations come out of those evening caps that we have before we go to bed. And so one of the conversations so happens to be about shadow work. And like shadow work, it could be used in ways where people think that they're doing shadow work, but they're not. Because if you're aware of it, then it's not your shadow. Like if you don't see your shadow is just darkness. You know what I'm saying? And so like if you're aware that you're working through something, that's a part of your light. You done brought it to light. This is not shadow work anymore, right? But the interesting thing with shadow work is, we mentioned this in previous videos, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so that's shadow work. That's being open to the stuff that you don't know. But at the same time understanding that even in what we call positive and negative, there is a shadow. And one of the things that we were talking about was when it comes to the esoteric world, when it comes to the spiritual tribes and all these shit that everybody throws out. And, I'm not taking nothing away from community. I'm not taking anything away from tribe. I'm not taking away from the spiritual journey that we all have. But in today's society, people make shit trendy. Like, that's the shit. They want to make shit trendy. Then all of a sudden, everybody's saying the same shit. They don't even know what the fuck they're saying. They have no idea what it is that they're saying. And they start misleading people because they have some followers or they feel they have some fucking authority to talk upon something. And they don't. And they start to steer people down the wrong path. And so this conversation that I was having with my wife, we were talking about the shadow work, but not just in the darkness. We're talking about the shadow of the light, which is the shadow. And so like we have people that are very spiritual people that are gifted. And I've met a lot of them, like beautiful souls. I'm talking about people that when they walk in the room, you get the chills like, wow, what the fuck? The presence that this person has and the healing capabilities. But their shadow is the fact that they've been taught by gurus like to let go of their ego, let go of everything, all material things. And guess what? Because of that, they live in poverty. And I'm not saying that, that you need to have material things to be happy, because they're some of the most happiest people. But guess what? When I speak to them and I connect with them on a heart-to-heart level, I know that they're here to serve. They know that they're here to serve. But if you don't have some sense of ego, if we want to call it that, to put yourself out there, to actually have the material wealth to be able to record like this, to be able to put your content out there, to be able to share, to be able to rent the venue, to be able to give, then how are you supposed to share these gifts of yours? And there's a lot of people that share their gifts, and like there's a lot of monks that what they do is they go and they meditate, and that's an honor for them to meditate for mankind, for them to meditate for the cosmos, and to share their energy with the collective in that way. But there are some that are very gifted, beautiful spiritual beings that are meant here to have an impact, and they don't realize that their shadow is that they haven't integrated their ego. And so some of the things that we talked about on the previous video, which was the light and the dark and being in that neutral state and being able to plug in when you need to plug in. All right, let me plug into this ego right now. Let me plug into the identity of like being able to like connect with people on a human level, on a personality level, on the ego to ego level, and then bring people in. All right, now let's plug into the spiritual aspect of stuff. Let's bring in the spirituality, but we're doing it from a place of neutrality as a whole. We're not causing separation. We're not saying, oh, because we're spiritual, we got to be broke. Or because we have money, we can't be spiritual. That's not what we're saying. And that's been a lie that's been served to everybody on a fucking golden platter so that we can be separated and not be able to come in this wholeness so that you can share your message and you can share what it is in your heart that is here for the collective, which is true. We talked about this on previous videos, true authenticity. Like being your true authentic self, bringing that out into the world, but being able to integrate the light and the dark, right? That's true fucking shadow work. Right? Like when people go into these, oh, I'm doing this shadow work, and they forget about everything else, and that's their excuse. And some people dive, this is where me and my wife, we were really diving in. Some people dive so deep into the shadow work that they are no good to nobody, including their spouses, including their children, including themselves. And they get so lost in like, oh, I gotta get deep in there and dig into this shadow. Listen, when you're doing true shadow work from the spirit, like you don't have to do shit. It's gonna come up. The only thing that you need to do is work through it. You don't have to, I gotta dig. You don't have to dig. Once you open up and you make that intention, like I'm here to figure out the things that I'm unaware of, and I'm diving deep and I want trueness and wholeness within me. And when that happens, all the shadows, all the shit that needs to come up will come up. There's this a pastor that I was connected to in the past, and he was giving a sermon, and he said that he shared this story when the goldsmith starts to refine gold, right? When it gets dug out the ground, they bring it to the goldsmith. The goldsmith now starts to refine the gold to bring it to its pure state. What they do is they crank it up, they heat it up. And as they start to crank up that heat, the impurities come up and they scoop it. And then they do it again, they crank it up again, the impurities come up and then they scoop it. And they keep on until the goldsmith can look into the gold and see its reflection. That's how they know it's fucking pure. And I'm telling you that that's the intention for you, is to say, I want to know thyself. And then all the shadow shit will start to come up without effort. Now, it's your responsibility at that point to now start working through these particular things when they come up. See how they integrate into your life. And it's not about changing anything. We're talking about integration. And I'm going to give you an example. My biological father was not in my life, right? I saw him a couple times growing up, and every time I saw him, he was high as shit, right? He was into heroin. And so that experience made me the amazing father that I am today. Because I took that and made it a value to me based upon something that we would consider a shadow. You know, not having your dad and, you know, feeling like you're not good enough because he wasn't there. Like all the different stories that everybody talks about, right? Instead of letting that hold me down, no, I took it and I integrated it into my life so that now I am very conscious. I'm a very conscious father from the moment that I became a father. Even before I know everything that I know now. I was just a very conscious father from day one. And now it's because of that shadow aspect. So I'm giving you this example so that you can understand what I'm saying, that when it comes to the shadow work, let's stop trying to make it this bad thing, this hard thing, this thing that, oh my gosh, the shadow work. No. Look at it as you are taking responsibility for who you are and who you be. And it's a journey of integration. This is not like, oh, once I'm done with this shadow work, then I can. No, that's bullshit. And stop looking at it as either or. And start bringing yourself in that balance and harmony, like the yin yang, right? And when you start to like see that and work that into your life, you're going to take these things that we would call shadows and you're going to flip them around and turn them into light. And you're going to use these things that, for most people, unaware of the gifts that comes through adversity or some hard times or some things that we won't agree with, you see the gold in it, right? You see how it can create new beliefs and new values to who you are and who you be. Now, the flip side of that is, as we were talking about, we have people that are always in love and light, right? And they become so docile that they're no good. You ask them a question and they're like, yes. So, yes, what? Like, can you give me a proper response here? Like, you know what I'm saying? So they become so heavenly minded and spiritual that they're so earthly, they're earthly no good. And so like being able to take that part of the light and understand that this other part that most people are taught by other spiritual teachers to just let go of all the material, renounce it all, go under a tree and meditate and forget about everything. That's not it either, right? So now the attachment of things, that's the issue. But just because you're not allowing yourself to get attached to things does not mean that these things aren't of value to you and your life and the people around you. Right, so being able to get to bring this all together, right, and take the light aspect, the things that you know that you're here to serve from a soul level, and then taking the ego part of you, because I'm be honest with you, a lot of the spiritual people that we would consider spiritual people that are on the spiritual path of awakening and embodiment, they've been through some shit. They've been through some serious stuff growing up, through their spiritual journey. All the things that they encountered has made them this being that they are. But then they disconnect from that and they try to like forget it. Oh, it's gone. It's no longer me. I renounce all of it. But guess what, man? Like those things are what created the filters of what you see, how you see life. Those things are the things that created the layers of filter that took you down this path of spirituality awakening and becoming the being that you are right now. So it's not about letting it go forever. It's about letting it go just enough so that you can find thyself, know thyself. Now, when you know thyself, you realize that this thing that happened, you don't let it go, you integrate it. You transmute it. You take this darkness and you turn it into light. And then this light, you integrate it with your darkness. And you create this harmony between the two that allows you to be a full human being. Because other than that, you're just living in polarities. Because if you're spiritual, you can't do this. And if you're not spiritual and you do this, then you can't be spiritual. Like it's this nonsense that's been fed to everybody. And it's like you're taking away humanity. You're taking away the human element of what it is that we are here to be. So like taking the time to integrate this. Stop the bullshit with like, oh, I'm doing my shadow work, all this shadow work. And realize that the more energy that you put into this shadow work, that you say, oh, I got to do this shadow work is so hard, the harder it's going to be. But if you look at this shadow work as a part of your human journey, we're not talking about spirituality, I'm talking about your human journey and understand that these shadows are nothing but patterns and behaviors and energies and memories that created the person that you are today, and you realize that and you let go of them and then you integrate them to become the being that you want to be, then you're going to have a completely different experience when it comes to shadow work. Right? Exactly. So you guys are going to mull over on that. I know that I said a lot. There's a mouthful. I'm actually really amped today. I was talking to B when I got out the car. He's like, oh, Snap looking good. I'm like, I've been on my biohacking and all this good stuff. I actually got a vitamin D shot today. I feel like $1,000,000. Like, I feel like I could lift a fucking truck right now. Like, it's crazy. I feel really good. But at the same time, I know I'm giving you guys a lot of information with a lot of energy right now, and it's coming rapid fire. So take the time to chip at this little by little. You got to watch it several times, do that. But there's a lot of gold here for you. Like, don't allow yourself to be broken apart when all you're seeking is wholeness. Don't allow yourself to be polarized when all you're seeking is wholeness. Bring it all in, all of it, with the purest intentions, and you see how the dots will connect. All right, so that was one component of today's topic, which was the shadow work. All right. B, what was the other part?
Work with what you got.
Yes, there we go. Work with what you got. Thanks. And work with what you got. That's another thing that came up 2 nights ago. So I've been, I go in my office at night, my home office. I do a little journaling, I do a little reading, then I go into meditation. Sometimes before or after meditation, I do a brain dump and I write down the shit that I got to do for the next day. Just get it out of my head. So this way I don't have to worry about it going to sleep. And so something that I realize is that when I write it in a Sharpie versus a pen, for some reason, my mind, I get more excited about it, of actually getting it done. So I'm talking it over with my wife, and she's like, well, you got to think about, we have been conditioned to look at stuff that's in bold. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That reminds me of working with what you have versus trying to create something new and trying to rip apart what you already have going on to reinstall a whole new thing. No, work with what you got. Just understand yourself. So the reason why I brought this up is also how the mind works. Figure out how the mind works. Figure out the patterns and behaviors that you do, how you operate. Figure out why. Oh, because I saw this. Oh, because I saw my dad and my mom do this. Not to blame and point fingers. No, to understand yourself. Understand yourself. Why am I so fucking competitive? Oh, because I grew up with fucking cousins and uncles that were freaking competitive and they constantly pushed me. So now I'm just competitive, right? Instead of trying to look at that as a negative, use that. Use that I'm a competitive person. Sometimes, I could be very aggressive. Why am I so aggressive? I grew up in a neighborhood that I had to be aggressive. Now, am I going to I gotta let go of my aggression? No. I realize that that's a value that I instilled in this body, in this program, in this entity that I am. And so I'm not going to go out there and be violent with everybody. No, but I realize that I can use this. I can use this aggression. I can use this aggression when I work out. I can use this aggression when I play sports. I can use this aggression when I'm having sex with my wife. There's ways that you can take and harness this aggression to use it to your liking, to use it to serve. And so this is where I'm getting at. Use what you have versus trying to grasp at everything else when you already have what you need. You're just using it incorrectly. So there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of things that you already have. You're just unaware that you have them. The other thing is you're aware that you have certain things, but they've been labeled as bad. So realizing that this good and this bad shit that we've been fed is just what we've been told. But if you make the decision as the observer of your reality to say, I'm going to use this so-called bad thing, but I'm going to make it so that it's a good thing. And I use that to my advantage. So the example that I gave with the Sharpie, I had that realization. One day I did it with the pencil. The other day I did it with the Sharpie. And I realized the things that I did with the Sharpie, that I had a more of a, let's get this shit done. And I had an excitement about it. It was like interesting. But that's because I'm observant. I'm observing my behavior and my patterns. So I got the hint and I left it alone. And then again, I saw the cycle happen again. I'm like, I'm just going to do my brain dumps in Sharpie. Well, like the things that I have to do, because now in the morning I have an excitement, like, boom, let's do it. And I'm not trying to change it. Like, no, let me train myself to write it in, no matter what I write it in. No, why? Why do I have to force myself to, no matter what I write it in, I want to, no. I realize that this works best for me when I write it in a Sharpie. When I wake up and I'm ready to get going and I look at that notepad with the Sharpie, I'm excited to get this shit done. It's like, let's do this. So why am I going to work against that? Right now, this is, I'm going to be honest, this is really, we can go really deep with this one. But I just wanted to drop this seed. We will go deeper with this. Actually, we could probably do a little producer's cut on this and go a little bit deeper on this as we have this dialogue between B and I, where we can talk about how we can use the things that we already have, the things that we know that probably we don't even realize we know, or it's been labeled as bad, to use it to become whole, to serve in wholeness, to be in wholeness. Without the oh, this is good or this is bad. Nah, but just simply in wholeness and recognizing your patterns and behaviors and using them and working with them instead of working against them. All right? All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap up this episode. We are going to follow it up with a producer's edition so we could chop it up with B and we could get a little more of his perception of it. And also, I know it's going to brew some questions. And so I'm looking forward to that. So on to the next video. I'm sending you guys so much love, so much peace. And until next time, much love.